Welcome to part 2 of my review of Star Wars Episode 2 Attack of the Clones. This might be actually pretty long, so I'm not gonna waste any time and let's just start right in. And to delve even deeper into the themes, the already discussed themes of prejudice and the military suppression were really deep and wise, in that by showing the clones were basically droids, and the Jedi used them anyways, causing them to be vulnerable as the clones will betray them and be manipulated. Yes, using them anyways. It showed that the true soldiers need to have humanity and free will, because then they will betray you as quickly. And it is loyalty that is the most important, as otherwise you have no safety as you can't trust anyone. And so this humanity comes from being able to act on your own love for someone and make a wise choice. And without that, you cannot really count on someone, but the tragic thing is the clones do differ from the droids in that they were warm and caring, which added some ambiguity. And so this theme was really multi-layered and smart, and also wise, as indeed, when you can't trust those who support you, you can be all on your own at any point, and valuing strength over loyalty and humanity is forsaking the differences between knowledge and wisdom, which Jester pointed out and is important. Also, the prejudice theme was also smart, as it is indeed true that believing too much in strict ideas is wrong, as the world is unpredictable, and we need to stick to our principles even when we are under strain, because otherwise we are villains ourselves. Another deep multi-layered theme in this film, that is in all three films, is the theme of how freedom is destroyed, which ties into the original trilogy, where the theme was all about how freedom can be restored. In the first film, they showed that when a lot of people in a democracy are corrupt like the Senate, and people like the Trade Federation can take advantage of this by using money to slow down the system, that innocent people, like those on Naboo, will become desperate, and that even people like Padme will value a more autocratic system just to secure the safety of their people. And we see that if no non-corrupt person will actively fight corruption, which Valium refuses to do, eventually someone can achieve unquestioned power just by offering a solution. And that, if no one looks at the moral picture as a whole, as everyone is trying to achieve their own gain, someone like Palpatine can play them as chess pieces. And now in this film, Palpatine threatens the Republic with war, causing the Senate, who are still corrupt, to not be able to decide on how to deal with the crisis, and to make Palpatine a dictator. And Jar Jar even helps with this, as even he assumes that if he can't agree to fight the Separatists, they need to manipulate the business, and this time the Jedi can't act corrupt as well by when they discover the army is distrustful and their powers diminished, they decide to lie in the Senate and even help Palpatine become dictator, just to keep order, sacrificing their principles. This is a very smart theme, and it is very historically relevant. Corrupt, slow systems, and desperate people, for example, caused the fall of the Roman Republic for one. Anakin perfectly summed it up. People weren't agreeing enough, so it seems someone needed to make them. Another deep theme that is continued from the first film is the theme of pragmatism. As they show in this film, even the Jedi are pragmatic, using the clone army when it is suspicious, and they like to the Senate, giving Palpatine most of his power. And Jar Jar even betrays Padme as he feels obliged to do what most people want him to make is right. And so, as a result, no one can really be trusted and everyone is manipulated, and the Senate gives up his power just to be saved, and the Jedi force Padme to leave the capital, as protecting her is very difficult. Another deep theme introduced in this film is the theme about how to deal with hostility. We see that the Separatists are harassing the Republic, and the Chancellor supports the popular notion that they can negotiate them to stay, which the Chancellor saying his negotiations will not fail, and Padme, assuming that if they are threatened, they will become violent, even when the Trade Federation is a part of them, and they were already unreasonable in the first film. And the Jedi want to have the support to defeat them, and it turns out clones are already being created, showing that often trying to negotiate is naive, and even those on your side will want to defend themselves, because those that profit from the war, like Dooku, are simply doing anything that can get their demands accepted. Dooku in fact tries to get Obi-Wan on his side, but when he refuses, he immediately has him executed. And it turns out Nute Gunray wants Padme dead, and they were even repairing armies, and Padme wants to desperately save Obi-Wan. And when they are attacked, it turns out that they have to fight the enemy, as it is the only way they can protect their friends. And this is the most important. It is, in fact, how Anakin protects Padme by hunting down the assassin. So the film continues many deep themes from the first film, as it connects themes from the prequels with the originals. So it isn't just a mindless action picture at all. And what is funny is that on Redlettermedia actually shows Yoda being disappointed, Lucas also praising the film for having a lot of action. What, you motherfucker? Reviewer 1, did you take your meds before writing this? This collaboration is becoming a little bit uncomfortable. But didn't he praise the original trilogy for starting off with an action scene and keeping it nice and simple? And doesn't he, in his episode 3 review, state that he wanted even more unique visual ways, so now it is bad for a film to also have action? By the way, action that furthers the story and characters, as the opening chase scene established Anakin's stubbornness, his aggressiveness towards people that hurt his loved ones, how he was more skilled than Obi-Wan, as well as showing how the two are almost a team and can joke together, and shows how they get the clue to start Obi-Wan's investigation, and the fight with Jango established how Obi-Wan knew for sure he was hostile. And the meteor chase caused him to lose track of Jango, and not find out about Dooku's connections to the clone army. The arena battle established how the Jedi were being weakened and were more dependent on help. The clone battle showed the clones' skills in the start of the war. In Episode 1, the fight with the droids in the beginning revealed the Trade Fed's hostile intentions and how Obi-Wan and the Qui-Gon couldn't force a deal. The next fight showed how they saved the Queen. The Gungan battle showed the distraction of the Trade Feds, and the shooting in the throne room showed how Padme had become less pacifistic and how they captured Jango. So, no, these films aren't just big video games. Now onto the action itself. Redlettermedia complains all the excitement in the action scenes as well as the tension is dissolved by its internal contradictions. Well, let's look at the criticisms on the speeder chase. He comments it is ridiculous Anakin and Obi-Wan can free fall through air like it's nothing. They are Jedi, it makes perfect sense. They often use the Force to defy gravity and have durable bodies. And he says he need to be able to imagine ourselves in the frame, so I guess the Jedi having superhuman abilities makes it less relatable. Well, that is the point of science fiction and fantasy. We wouldn't be able to do it in real life. It is the amazement and the being able to imagine that you can do something you really can't that makes it exciting. And there is tension, as you need to concentrate to land well. You can crash into many things, get shot at, and also if you really condemn non-relatable action scenes, I guess that makes sense. No film ever showed people with superhuman ability surviving amazing falls, except for these. Plinkett claims we don't at all care about the droids or clones. They are extras in a battle. It is the conflict that matters. What? Because the stormtroopers were technically human, they were more worth caring about? This is again discrimination, and apparently a complex battle is now seizure-inducing? Also in his review of Episode 3, he again comments, battles would have been more dramatic if the clones had families at Coruscant. What? So those without families, though fighting and dying for a good cause and having friends and comrades, aren't worth caring for when they die? Okay, so we can officially add orphans to the list of groups Plinkett has offended. The clones are good people with feelings and friends who die in battle. And again, they are just extras in a larger fight. Oh, and the Palpatine would have been able to draft an army instead doesn't work nearly as well as 1. Completely takes away from the theme about what causes suppression is mindless, following soldiers. 2. If Palpatine forced citizens of the Republic into war and they became his soldiers, why would they be loyal to him when he was dependent on them and was destroying their democracy and starting to suppress them? 3. It takes away from the Jedi being pragmatic. And 4. The idea that a large number of the Imperial Army is soldiers is complex as it explains how he could have had powerful soldiers while also recruiting other humans. He could control better. People say they have different heights and voices in the original trilogy, but many could stand in a perfect formation and have the same voices. Simply not all of the same clones, and they have varying stages. Oh, and Matthew comments in his Star Wars The Clone Wars review that all the battle scenes will be repetitive and lack tension, and called the cedar chase what? Start switching and blinking? Oh yeah. Sorry guys, it seems Reviewer 1 had a mental breakdown and an OCD attack, and has locked himself in the bathroom and refused to come out again. Okay, I'm going to try and see if I can prevent him from becoming the next Howard Hughes. Nope, too late. Alright, well, let's see. In the speeder chase, Anakin almost glides on the ship, gets shot at, Obi-Wan gets hit at the wall, and the droid is shot. The speeder crashes in the arena battle, a giant cannon kills many Jedi, Anakin jumps on a lizard-driven cart and his droids, Jedi fly through the air, Jedi die, Jango fights Windu, a flamethrower is used on a window, whole groups of Jedi storm the droids, Jango shoots a Jedi who jumps on the balcony. How is this in any way repetitive? And Jedi die left and right, and Anakin gets more and more concerned. How is it lacking in tension? And all these action scenes aren't any longer than things like the trench fight, the walker battle, or the meteor chase, all which didn't involve any more vehicles or moves. Also, Matthew complains they have 1 minute special visual effects sequence in the opening of the film. Even though the film has a lot less action than the originals, he says it is boring. What? Because it isn't in action scenes? It builds suspense and is part of the story, and shows how they are very tightly protecting Padme. And remember Alien and Predator? Not Alien vs. Predator. Oh, and remember the opening of Empire or the opening of Blade Runner? And he says it looks horrible. What? The ship is actually less visible and has less reflection in the clouds. It's harsh, three-dimensional, and the clouds are complex and detailed, and it reflects sunlight when the sun hits it. How is this in any way unrealistic? And he comments we see special effects all the time. So, if something isn't unique, it doesn't deserve to be shown, then let's get rid of action, music, editing, even acting altogether, as we see it all the time now. It is still an important part of filmmaking. Effects add to the environment and visual look. Ugh. Now onto the supposed overuse of the lightsabers. Well, Redlettermedia says that if something cool is used to match it becomes boring. What? Is that supposed to be more and is less philosophy? If something is cool, it is nice to see a lot. By limitation, you can make something special. By excessive use, you can make it overwhelming and exciting. Plinkett again only sees one side to a coin and boxes in what a film can be, and mind you, wasn't the Falcon used extensively in the original trilogy? And laser blasters? They were. So the only possible argument here is that they weren't as cool, so that would mean that if something is mundane, you can use it excessively. Right, sure. The lightsabers are used more in the prequels, as since we saw them less in the original trilogy, they were built up, and it now serves as a great payoff. And sometimes seeing a great thing a lot, having a lot, something great, is being used excessively, and having every form of something be used is just exciting and fulfilling. This is what fueled the reasoning behind Blade 2, X2, Scarface, Inglourious Bastards, Aliens, The Godfather Part 2, Die Hard with a Vengeance, Gremlins 2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, The Avengers. Shall I go on? It isn't boring, as it is exciting. Of cutting through anything makes it fun to see a lot, and it used creatively, with them using it to reflect bullets, for example, and using many different swings and formation in fighting droids, Geonosians, assassins, and cutting through ships and doors. When it might have having an accident, when the Jedi in Episode 1 take out their lightsabers against an explosion, yeah, if it felt suspicious, you don't take that risk. Also, he comments the Jedi using lightsabers while having varying different body types is impractical. It is a very useful weapon, and through training and the Force, they can easily adapt themselves to their styles. I mean, really, the guy with the tall neck trains to have his lightsaber close to his neck. Jester was too clumsy to be a fighter at all. That is no argument. The guy with no legs could float around through the Force, and oh, now on the Yoda using a lightsaber. Yeah. Yoda can use one by being fast with the Force, and Plinkett and Matthew by say he should have been so strong with the Force that he didn't need one. Yoda was established as wise and powerful, but nothing ever implied he was that much stronger than Obi-Wan. Although Yoda seemed stronger, he didn't seem to be totally on the different level. Him being in such a different league would be degrading to all the other Jedi, and also in the original trilogy, Yoda needed Luke to fight Vader as he wasn't strong enough. So Vader was stronger than Yoda,